And I'm sorry that there's no chat window during the pre-show.
We've been thinking about removing the chat window entirely anyway, just because of the riskiness inherent in having it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like a thing on Twitch that like some people will bomb channels and go in there and say like racist or sexist stuff, and then Twitch will be like, "Well, you had it on your stream. You know, you can't control the chat, but you can control what's on your stream, and you chose to have that on your stream."
That's sucky.
So, yeah, it's just D-bags. So we've got good community and everything, and obviously that's not been a problem. Like in the years we've been using Twitch, but you never know when some random might hop in just to try and
I know, right?
screw us over.
I know, right? Exactly. So hopefully Hando will show up and tell us whether or not the audio is good or not.
Yeah, he's like I can tell us if it's working, but he can tell me if it's good, right? Like that's his thing.
So I'll tell you what. I'll take working. Right?
So I'm roboting. You're coming through super clean, but I'm roboting.
So that is a restart of the audio engine, I think.
Yes, that would be.
That should do it.
Okay, let me try again. I'm talking.
I am talking.
Nope, still roboting.
Okay. I'm not sure what we do about that.
Yeah, I'm still roboting.
Hold on. Let's try just a single audio track. Try now.
Okay, I am talking.
That should, in theory.
Yep.
Okay.
Beautiful. Comes through fine.
Perfect. Okay. So what I tried to do is I tried to grab your Skype, your stuff from Skype Direct, and that did not work.
Okay.
So the only other thing that I'm not sure about is one thing. Can I look at rename, remove, mute? I sometimes. Well, so. Oh, I feel so. I always feel unprepared.
But that's the thing. You put in all this effort and all the time, and you still feel unprepared. I think that just shows that you care rather than showing that you're unprepared, though.
I do care. That's true. Video projects. Oh, I need the ShowX because I need the ShowX three-way open. This is my favorite name.
You heard it here first, folks. Todd needs a three-way.
I desperately. No, I don't. I'm fine and very pleased to be in this wonderful monogamous.
Oh, we know you're making a joke. Don't worry.
Well, I need to, one of those things.
Yeah, don't wanna upset and offend, of course.
That's right. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser. Wonderful. That's what we're going with.
Hey, Menomats, thanks for joining.
Menomats!
Are you enjoying your time off?
All right.
Menno's a good buddy of mine from back in Scotland.
Aha. Well, welcome, sir.
All right. He's a very, very smart man.
So welcome everybody to the pre-show. I do have something. I don't. Well, I guess it's almost showtime, so I guess I'll leave it. I really wish that I could look. Oh, Propitas. There it is. Default. Okay. I want to do one test real quick. Yes! Okay. That is working exactly the way I was hoping it would. Lovely. Lovely. Okay, I actually do have some stuff that a couple of things that I want to talk about, mostly having to do with the computer build. But that we'll wait with that until after the show starts. because you'll love this. Like, I'm in love with the problem that I had and the links I had to go through to solve it.
Okay,
Which
and now I'm
probably
curious.
sounds weird. That's what we in the industry call a teaser. I had a problem that I fell in love with. Details after the break. See, I was a professional. I was a professional. We were not disc jockeys. We were air personalities. That was the name for us. That was what we were. That was how we were used. So, anyway.
Hando says he's not in the. So I said the Hando was from a land not down under, but pretty far south because he moved.
Right.
So,
That's
right. And he says I'm in the land of barbecue and Johnny Cash and heat. Yeah, I'm also in the land of heat. I didn't expect it to be. I thought Michigan was cold. But apparently it's only 5 months a year or so. The rest of the time it's actually very, very hot. I was missold what this place was. Yeah,
you were.
Told, you'll fit in fine. It's just like Scotland. Oh, great. Okay.
Not.
It's not.
It's not. And here's the thing. I don't know if you've been in there. You've been there in there like it's a place you don't want to be. Oh wait, it's Michigan. That's coming from a Wisconsinite. That's just a regional thing. That has nothing to do with you or Michigan itself, other than the fact that I'm from Wisconsin originally, and that means I hate everything from Michigan and Minnesota and Illinois and Iowa and parts of Indiana. That's funny because
I've only ever been instructed to hate Ohio because apparently they're just the worst state in the world.
No, they are bad too. But I don't like anybody except for people that come from Wisconsin and Norway.
Well, the joke from The Simpsons, right?
What's that?
About groundskeeper Willie talking about the Scots. He's like, I can't remember exactly what he says. It's like, the English, they ruined Scotland. And the Irish, they ruined Scotland. And the Welsh, they ruined Scotland. But most of all, those Scots, they ruined Scotland.
That's funny. That's good. I like that. That's quite good, in fact. I tell you what, it's 8 o'clock. I have no idea whether or not this is going to work. It's going to be awesome to try. So here we go.
Hiya, this is Kitten Features, and you're listening to ShowX Live with Ken in the student accommodation all the way in Scotland. Wait, that was years ago. You're listening to ShowX Live with your favorite Scotsman Ken, currently residing in the US of A, and Wayne, mostly from Colorado.
Hey, wait a second. I'm on the show too, and I don't get any billing at all? Well, I know how to solve this. Soldater, Fremad, march! You're listening to ShowX with our favorite Scotsman Ken, our child of the corn Wayne, currently living in Colorado, and Todd, who now has an army of angry Norwegians at his back. Enjoy the show! I will always love that. By the way, you know what the awesome thing is about an army of angry Norwegians? They work for wood flooring. Yeah. I said, you don't have
Norwegians like IKEA, or do they hate IKEA?
Well, I mean, it depends.
Or is there like an off-brand Norwegian version of IKEA?
All right, so a couple of things about IKEA. Number one, there's a free bus that goes to IKEA from like downtown Oslo. So the people who can afford a free bus to IKEA are the people that shop at IKEA. So it's somewhat looked down upon by people from what the Norwegians call Westkanten, which is, so there's a river that divides Oslo more or less in half. And there's the east side of the city and the west side of the city. And the west side of the city is the uppity, drink with your pinky out people. And and the west side or the east side of the city, more working class, blue collar, poor people, right? And so the Westkanten, the west side of the city, people sort of look down on IKEA, but for the rest of us, IKEA is fine. Now, I'm sure I've told this story before, but when IKEA first opened in Denver, the Mistress of Giggles and I went. It was like, well, we got to walk around the IKEA, right? They were backed up literally 4 blocks to get in to the parking garage and up onto the freeway to get into this place on opening weekend. Okay.
My God.
And we went in and we looked around, and it's an IKEA. That they are literally the McDonald's of cheap ass build it yourself furniture stores, right?
Sure,
Except for this one thing. About every 15 minutes, there was this dude that would come over the PA like a radio disc jockey, but like the least offensive radio disc jockey you'd ever heard of, like an NPR type of guy, right? And he's like, while you're here, why don't you come on down to the cafeteria and try some of IKEA's famous Swedish meatballs? IKEA food, right? They don't do that in Norway, and I'm sad about it.
Well, it's because Americans have very little willpower after a lifetime of advertisements telling them what to eat. That's true. Generally speaking, if IKEA tells them to eat meatballs, they will.
That's true.
In fact, there's a Kroger nearby, like a superstore near us.
Oh, yeah.
We go to because it's nice and cheap and has fairly good quality fruit and veg. So quite often I come out of there, and when I'm leaving the store, on the left there's a Wendy's, and on the right there's a KFC, and straight ahead at this 4-way turn there's a McDonald's. So, and I've noticed that when people are leaving Kroger, I'd say maybe like 15 to 20% of people are in the lane that's for leaving the whole area. They'll sit there for about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, clearly trying some sort of internal debate. And then they'll turn into one of the they'll change lane away from where they were going, which is leaving the area. They'll turn into Wendy's usually. And that it seems like just having that sign sitting there is like this siren call to the local Americans.
Well, so all of those fast food chains' days are numbered, because as soon as a Chick-fil-A shows up on that corner, that's it. All the rest of them are closed.
There is a Chick-fil-A about 5 minutes from there, but it's just outside of visibility range. And I gotta say, that Chick-fil-A, oh my God, it's like right next to the Meijer, and the Meijer car park is half full of cars waiting to get into the line for Chick-fil-A. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
So the last time I went to my parents', which was pre-pandemic, so we're talking like 2019, I asked them if it would be okay if we had Chick-fil-A one night for dinner, and they were okay with it. They were like, sure, no problem. And they waited in line for nearly a half an hour in Las Vegas at a drive-thru to get Chick-fil-A. And that's how dedicated my parents are to me. Much love.
That's very sweet.
I know, right? Because they wouldn't have had to. They could have just come home and said, well, son, we hate to disappoint you, but the line at Chick-fil-A was just too long. And for your stupid dessert chicken sandwich idea, like, we don't really need it that bad. So, because I hate the fries at Chick-fil-A. Absolutely hate them. Can't stand them. I don't like crisp-cut fries. So
really, I could probably them. I've never tried from Chick-fil-A, but I do like those kind of fries.
No, I really just don't. I don't like those kind of fries. I think I got some bad ones there once, and like once you serve me bad fries, like I'm done with your fries for the rest of time, right? So, I came up with this idea of using chicken nuggets as fries.
Okay.
right?
That's
So
quite a good idea. I
so
get that.
I order a chicken sandwich and then a thing of chicken nuggets, right? And so the chicken nuggets are like my fries. Like I'll take a big old bite out of the Chick-fil-A sandwich with Polynesian sauce on it. Polynesian sauce on it. Wonderful people, the Polynesians. And then I'll dip a chicken nugget in Polynesian sauce to have like a French fry. Okay. So I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of anything that Chick-fil-A's got on the dessert menu either. So I invented the dessert chicken sandwich.
Oh my God, this is all very. Why did you leave to Norway? This is a very you are so American.
Honestly,
Todd. That is the most American thing I've ever heard.
To lose weight is why I moved to Norway. That is why. The dessert chicken sandwich is why I tipped the scales at oh my God, get off.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's probably a good thing I don't eat meat because I am tempted by these places. I used to on every night out when we go drinking in university, I'd always end the night at the local chip shop or at McDonald's or whatever because when I as soon as I've had a few drinks, my willpower dissipates and I suddenly become voracious when it comes to having food, junk food especially. I'm always super tempted. But now that I don't eat meat, like there's no takeaway that's that satisfying apart from maybe pizza. Sorry, takeout I think it's called here. Carry out.
I know what you. I know.
So yeah,
I
don't tend to go to these places.
I knew what you meant. There's a falafel place like a block and a half away from us. Actually, less than that. That will change your mind because it's a religious experience, and I don't like. And I don't.
I've never had a good falafel. You know
I don't like them, and even I occasionally be like, that falafel place really isn't that bad. And I'll tell you.
Okay. I'm always willing to try.
And I'll tell you something else. Hello, Doc Dead from South Dakota. I'll tell you something else, brother. A high fat, medium protein, low carb diet will get rid of a lot of those. At least for me, got rid of a lot of those cravings.
Yeah,
right.
I get that.
And it's just, I'm eating more vegetables than I ever have in my life, but they're not vegetables that one, I don't like eating because they don't taste good, and two, aren't vegetables in the way that I'm instantaneously, voraciously hungry after I've finished eating. Right?
Right. Yes.
Because I've done the restricted diets, right? I've done the 17-day diet. I've done the Whole30. Like, I've done those kind of diet things before. And one thing I will tell you is it doesn't matter if it's day 2, because you kind of expect it on day 2, or day 42, right? Mm-hmm. Sit down with a giant healthy salad with a variety of vegetables in it, and try to take your time and drink water in between, forkfuls of salad or whatever. Yeah. All the techniques that you were supposed to do to not feel hungry at the end of a meal, and I'll get done with a meal like that, and I will sit down, and 5 minutes later, I will be ready to go out and hunt.
Yep.
To find an animal to kill, so that I have some meat. And so, this is the first diet that's like, I could do this forever. Like, diminishing marginal utility is setting in a little bit. Like, I look at the leafy greens in my fridge some days, and it's just like, yeah, really? Again? With this? So I think I need to mix a little variety into my meats. But I really like keeping things simple when it comes to food prep. Simply because I hate making work for myself. And every dish you dirty is a dish you have to clean up. So if I can only dirty one dish and have a meal, like that's the dream.
Speaking of having the urge to go out and hunt, I've got a little story I wanted to share at the top of the show as well, if that's all right. I went fishing for the first time in my adult life yesterday.
Oh, grats!
And because so I have this philosophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you know, I don't eat meat, and I have this I do eat fish though. I'm pescatarian, and my philosophy
Okay.
is that anybody who eats meat in the modern world, I'm of the opinion the vast majority of meat eaters would not be willing to kill the animal that they're eating, right? I think the
Okay.
vast majority are rather squeamish. They disassociate the fine, cleanly packaged, miscellaneous chunk of beige flesh from being something that's actually from a living being, right? And
Yeah.
they don't like to think about it.
Yep.
I think that if we were in hunter-gatherer times, or maybe not, maybe that's a bit ridiculous because back then it was survival, which is different, right? I think that if they had to go down to the farm and, either chop off the head of a chicken or stun a cow and or whatever method they choose, whether it be halal or whatever, to kill an animal, I imagine many people, not all, but many people would be less willing to eat quite so much meat. Right? I'm not even saying that it make them vegetarian. I'm not making the argument. I'm just arguing that they'd eat less meat.
And
Right?
and
Which I think is what everybody should do
I
in
think you're
general.
onto something there. Truthfully, I really do.
So I have never done it with fish before, right? In my life.
Okay.
I
Yep.
had never killed a fish. So
Okay.
I thought to myself, you know what? I'm a hypocrite. I need to get out there and I need to see if I would be willing to hunt and kill my own fish. Because I'm sitting here eating say this safe miscellaneous flesh without actually understanding where it came from, looking at the animal as it dies from my own hand. Am I able to do that? So
Yep.
I got invited by a colleague of mine to go fishing. He had all the gear and everything, and there was a free fishing weekend here in Michigan where you didn't need a license or anything, so you just sort of rock up
Ah.
and you just get going. It was great.
Yeah.
Beautiful day, gorgeous sunny day, and I had a few colleagues there that were all friendly. The guy who invited me, he's a proper hunter, proper fisher. He likes to go out with bow and arrow and rifles and everything. He'll sit out in like a forest for like 16 hours in a little hut attached to a tree that he made to hunt
Nice.
like a buck, right? Like he knows his stuff. Right, and he'll wear he's got all the proper gear. He's put thousands and thousands into doing this properly. And while I might not agree philosophically with everything he does, I respect the fact that he, like I said, he's able and willing to kill the meat that he eats. So
Mhm.
I give him respect for that. Um, Anyway, so we go fishing, and he teaches me what to do and everything. And I was unlucky. I didn't catch a thing. Right, I had a couple of things like grab onto the end of it, but before I even got a chance to even react, they'd already let go and moved on elsewhere. Whereas
Okay.
one of my colleagues, a PhD student, he was so lucky. It was his first time fishing. He put the bait on the end of his rod, threw the thing out there, and as soon as it lands, like not even like a second, there's this giant like splash and this massive catfish that's
Oh wow.
like bigger than my arm, like bigger than my thigh.
Nice.
This thing was
Nice.
like huge, and he reels it
Nice.
in with the help of the professor there who was teaching us, and
Yep.
pulls this thing in. And this thing, oh my God, it was massive.
Okay.
And he said afterwards, like when we cut this up, we could probably all take like this could feed all of us and our families tonight.
Yeah.
And we were all like, no, 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 you keep it. It's your catch, your kill. You deserve it. So
That's
he's
right.
gonna freeze it, and it's gonna last him for 2 weeks or something.
I
Like
was
this thing
gonna
was
say,
massive.
yeah, yeah. Big
Um,
catfish like that, no doubt. No doubt.
oh yeah, and plus
Yeah.
catfish is a very
Fantastic.
tasty fish. It's
It
very
sure
little
is.
bone, very
Yep.
easy to cook.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta be very
yeah.
careful though, because depending on where you fish it, you need to clean it carefully and cook it carefully, because there
Yes.
might be E. coli in the river and stuff.
Yep.
Um, But thankfully, we're all animals. We all work in animal science and genetics, and the
Yes.
professor who was with us also works in fisheries. So we knew
Okay.
what we were doing.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
so we take
Fantastic.
this thing out, and they're trying to take photos with it and stuff. And I was like, guys, can we just kill the thing? Like, I don't like it. I don't want it to be flopping around, suffocating for like 10 minutes while we do this. Right? I think it's more ethical if we kill the thing as soon as possible.
Sure.
So I
Certainly
go
more
get a big
humane.
yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah.
So I go get a big old rock, and I say to them like, "What's the best way to do this? Is it to bash his head in?" And the professor, who's like the expert there, he says, "Well, you cut the gills out." And so he shows me what to do, and he gets a knife and he does it. He cuts the gills. I was like, "All right, thanks very much." How long does it take to die? And he says, "Oh, probably 5 minutes." And I was like, "That's a long time to sit there and suffocate. I wouldn't want to do that." I think that's bad. Do you mind if if I do something else? And he says, well, yeah, you can either try to stab it or you can bash its head in with a rock. Those are the two really quickest ways to kill it, other than letting it suffocate.
Yeah.
And so I pick up this big rock, and I'm like, okay. And I look at it, I see it's like moving around. I ask him to hold it down, and I do the deed. I smash its head in. And this thing's so big, its skull is so thick, it takes a good 3 attempts with this big, like, this is no small rock. I've got a big, like, I felt like a proper, like, caveman with my big rock beating the animal to death. But I tried to kill the thing. I had 3 big attempts with the rock. I then get a knife, and it's still flopping around. And I try to stab the thing, and it's still taking forever. But eventually I managed to get it down, and it took about 45 seconds. But I think that bloody end was probably still preferable to the to the suffocation end. And I didn't feel bad. I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't feel bad. I feel like we're gonna eat this whole thing. Nothing of it's going to waste. I don't feel like a fish like that is sentient or conscious enough to the point that I would say it's an intelligent mind like a human or even like a mammal.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like even the pain that it seemed to be in didn't seem to increase or decrease as we did stuff to it, as we cut his gills, as we bashed his head in with a rock, etc., etc. It seemed to be reacting the exact same. I don't think they even have a complex enough mechanism of pain to understand pain on or pain off.
Oh, maybe not.
I think, as far as I'm aware, I think their mental capacity and the signals of pain are really just I am in distress or I am not in distress. I think it's on-off.
Okay, and if in distress, motivate to not be in distress anymore, right?
Yeah,
I guess it's like that simple, like a simple if statement,
exactly.
Kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. It's a heuristic. That's it.
Okay, gotcha.
In my mind, it's just a heuristic.
All right, fair enough.
So yeah,
I'm really sorry about this. I have to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, after you got done with this massive group combat, how many EXPs did you get?
Well, actually, I'd say we gained a lot of XP. It was a very eye-opening experience.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's the way that people used to live all the time back in the day.
Sure. My dad hunted. My dad fished. I got my hunter safety permit when I was 12. I have hunted. I have fished. I have never caught anything, nor have I ever killed an animal. So, on a hunting or a fishing trip, right? So, we've seen some things and I've shot at some things, but I am over my life in hitting things that I have shot at.
I think that well, again, I'm not pro hunting or anything. Please don't think that I am. I generally disagree with the concept of hunting in general. Unless world comes to the end and you need to survive. Hey, I would value human life more than any other animal. Because we are truly conscious and sentient.
So I challenge that a little bit. If you were to go out with a bow and arrow, right? The really high skill floor style of hunting, right? I don't see a problem with that. I don't see especially
I do,
especially if you do the harvesting and use the First Nations style, right? Where you use as much of the meat as possible. You take the hide and you do something with the hide. Like you use as much of the animal as you can. Right.
For sure. If you're hunting, you gotta do that. That's the bare minimum, in my opinion. Like that. Like if you've already accepted the ethical consequences and the ethical, your morality acceptance of, I am okay with killing for my own to eat. I'll take another life to eat. Mm-hmm. Then fine. You should use it all. To not use it all would be even less ethical in my eyes, for sure. However, bow and arrow, from what I've read up on it anyway, generally speaking, because of the skill required. There's a huge chance of you screwing up and just hitting the animal somewhere that's not going to be a kill shot. Okay. Like, generally speaking, I think a lot of hunters of old, not only for efficiency's sake, but also for the ethical side, if they had to kill something to survive, they'd kill it quick, right? Sure. You'd shoot for, like, the jugular or for the heart, for the lungs, somewhere that they're not going to last more than a few seconds.
Well, and that's what they...
One, so the poor thing's not in pain.
Sure.
and two, so that you can, it's not going to run away. I mean, for God's sake, you're trying to survive. You got to kill the thing, right?
And that's what they taught us in hunter safety too, right? Here's the region on this animal that will constitute near instantaneous death.
Yes. Yes, and that's the best way to do it. And so, the bow and arrow, I think in modern day, it's a little unethical because of the fact that you're probably there's a high chance of screwing it up and a high chance of letting the thing be in pain for longer than it needs to be.
That's fair enough.
So use a gun, use an appropriate gun, and that's the best way to do it. Fair enough. If you have to hunt at all, like I said, I think for me the line is at fishing. I'm not saying that's the ultimate thing that all people must adhere to. I respect your decision if you're a meat eater. I respect your decision if you're a vegan.
Kuro.
For me,
that was the other thing that I was going to ask you. I was going to make a joke about you on this day being involuntary vegan. On that particular day because you didn't catch fish, so you were involuntarily vegan. And in veg, you were an in veg.
There's no.
Yes, you know what they say about in veggies.
Well, Ken Features has she's been having some ethical quandaries about eating fish. Okay. Like she's eaten fish with me for years, and she's getting to the point where she thinks if she feels pretty bad about eating fish, she thinks that there's still. Like for her, she tried being vegan a few years ago and just really struggled, just largely because of the availability of food and making herself feel full after eating and feeling satisfied and everything. She never really
it's a problem.
Got it. Like it really is. We've both had really good vegan food before, but if you can't go to a high class vegan restaurant every single time you eat, you got to be able to do it yourself, and that's tough. Yeah. Especially in places like here in the US, it's much harder than it was in Scotland. Sure. There's meat everywhere. Yep. In fact, just yesterday when I was going fishing, they said bring your own lunch, and I was like, I'll drop by the superstore and pick up a sandwich.
Oh, and all of that was like deli meat sandwiches, like all of it.
Yep. It was turkey, it was chicken, it was beef. That was it. Nothing else at all. Not even a cheese sandwich, not even cheese and onion, nothing like that.
No, you're not going to get anything like that. No.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting thing to share. Yeah. I got to go fishing for the first time, learned a lot, and I think there's not many pescatarians out there, and I love hearing people with different lifestyle choices like describe what's going on in their life that way because I find it fascinating. Mm-hmm. So I hope that's of interest to others as well.
Wow, what a great story! I have to do this, so bear with me. It's 2:25 in the East. And 7 GMT on a Sunday. This is the often imitated, never duplicated, sometimes eviscerated, and investing in the hype. ShowX, and we're live on Twitch.tv, Facebook, YouTube, all of the places where you can see us. My name is Todd.
Is that the way of telling
what
your wife that you bought GME? Is that what that means?
No. Good. That's good though. That's good. My name is Todd, and I am joined this week by Dr. Professor Rear Admiral, Jedi Master, Fishbane, Ken Reed, Esquire.
Yeah, Fishbane. When I killed one, but I didn't catch it. So don't worry. I think they're probably safe.
Word gets out.
If somebody else catches a fish for me, I'll kill it.
I'll tell you what. What are you going to tell all 20 million of the catfish's kids?
Well, we judged actually. It was probably about 3 years old, 4 years old. We thought so. That poor thing probably did have some babies.
I bet it did. So today on the show, we're going to be talking about E3. But before we do that, I built my new computer over the weekend. And it wasn't so much building the new computer as a kind of a dual thing. It was tearing apart the old computer and putting the new components in the new computer, and then the process of reinstalling and reconfiguring and redoing everything. And I have to admit, I did not realize it until last night. I have been low-grade stressed about this process since, January.
It's a stressful thing.
Right?
There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Yeah, there are. And the funny thing about it is, it's almost as if the industry is designed to not let you know when something goes wrong, what has gone wrong. And we'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay. So, tearing apart, honestly, way easier than I thought. I got this a while back. This is a toolkit from iFixit. Absolutely, positively required and awesome. So if you can find them, they're not all that expensive, but if you can get one of the iFixit toolkits, super solid. So phase change, cooler came off with the radiator. Mounting plate was on the back, that came off, no problem. Took the graphics card out, set that aside because I was reusing it. I thought it was a 2070. It's actually a 2080. So surprise me, I have more graphics card than I thought I did. And disconnected all the cables and stuff. And honestly, up until the point that I started trying to install the OS on the new drives, cable labeling was the longest part of this whole process.
So, could you describe exactly what that is? Is that just adding little labels for yourself?
Yeah. So I had
so
I had a set of Post-it notes, and they were the rectangular Post-it notes rather than the square ones. So I took a Post-it note, tore it in half, wrote what the thing was, right? Like front panel serial ATA. Right? And then I wrapped the Post-it note around that cable, and I moved that cable off to the side in the case. Right?
Okay.
So I did that with all the cables of all the things that I was keeping in the case. So, spinning plate drive, I've got a 2.5-inch solid state drive that had Windows on it, but I haven't done anything with that drive yet. Like, it's just disconnected. But it's in there, like I could hook it up, but I haven't yet. And then what Windows is running off of, and what I'm using as like my games drive or my main, my games and utilities drive are M.2 NVMe drives from Samsung.
And can you also explain what that means to people?
Oh, so
what are those?
So they're solid state drives, but modern motherboards have these slots on them that look very similar to what hard drive slots on laptops look like. And so, as a space saving feature, amongst other things, you can now slot these very, they're about this long. Both of mine are about yay long, or like 80 millimeters long, I think, because I got the long form version of both. And you slot them directly into the motherboard, and there's no serial ATA cable, there's no connection to the power. Like, the drives are powered off the motherboard, they're solid state. The data transfer times are absurdly fast, and you can get a ton of data for each I/O. Right, so they're really
so
good.
So what are the benefits of
8-second boots or 10-second boots? Yeah,
that's pretty incredible.
It's no joke, dude. It is no joke. It's awesome. I downloaded a video game. I think it was EU4 on Steam, and I was doing 80 megs a second. Onto the hard disk.
That is incredibly useful. Now, the problem is, like, nowadays with really fast internet speeds, people often forget that hard drives are often the thing that bottlenecks the system, right? Because you can only write so fast to a hard drive. So if you're doing 80 megs per second, that means that if you can do an 80 meg download per second, you can actually save at that rate as well.
Yep, exactly. I think it was 78 and change, so I was rounding up, but. World of Warcraft was downloaded in like 2.5, maybe 3 minutes.
Oh my god, that's incredible!
It was ridiculous. Like, I was watching the progress bars and going, "No way that this is real." Like, this is just going to be one of those This is the installer. This is the installer or the launcher, and you're gonna have double click on the launcher, and it's gonna go, oh, I have to download another 40 gigs. Nope. 3.5 minutes, it was done and playable.
So that means that you don't even need to. You can just keep hard drive space doesn't matter anymore because you can just uninstall and reinstall every time you want to play.
I mean, you could if you really wanted to. Europa Universalis with all of the DLCs was like 4 minutes. I mean, the speeds on this stuff are insane. It's great. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. 64 gigs of PC, 3600 RAM. It's a Ryzen 5 5600X. So 6 physical cores, 12 logical cores. And the 2080 Duke. Everything else is the onboard stuff. And wow. Okay. So let me tell you, I had no idea. I really didn't think about this. I had no idea that your processor could be such a bottleneck in your system. Like you were just talking about hard drive read-write or hard drive I/O being a bottleneck in the system. I had no idea that the processor. I mean, I have a multi-core Intel processor. Sure, it was 10 years old, right, at this time, or 11 years old at this time, but still, I mean, it was a great processor when I first got it. And I was noticing while playing World of Warcraft in the Grand, I would get these occasional stutters, right? Especially in high mob density areas. Well, I know it's not my graphics card because I got a 2080. So it's certainly not my graphics card.
That can't be the problem.
It's not my RAM because
especially not with World of Warcraft.
Right, and it's not my RAM because I'm running 24 gigs of RAM. Right? So it's got to be motherboard something, right?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
On the Ryzen, it is smooth as silk. I mean, just the smoothest thing. It is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm kind of stalling because I got to get to this story. I am so in love with this, and I'm very much also in love with the fact that I figured it out, and it didn't take me all day. So, parts come out, no problem. It took me probably 30-40 minutes to actually clean the case out real good. So I blew every nook and cranny out that you normally don't get to because I don't usually take both panels off of my side panels off of my PC when I clean it. Lots of dust bunny removal and things of that nature. I wiped the whole thing down, got it back inside, put the processor fan on, and installed the RAM. And so then I was done. That was all that I was going to do. Took the motherboard out. Oh, I also took the power supply out because I upgraded to a 1,000-watt power supply from a 650. So the power supply came out too. Took the motherboard and the new power supply into the kitchen. Put the motherboard in. The old motherboard didn't have, so you know where the basic I/O is on a motherboard, where the headphone jacks are and the USB ports, but on the backside. So
I think I remember. It's been a long while since I've looked at any hardware with a computer.
So back in olden times, that was not one solid piece, and you had to put this plate on your case that was just like really thin aluminum or something, and you just popped it into place in the back of your case, and then it had all of the little ports and things punched out, right? And you slid your motherboard so that the ports and whatnot matched up with that plate. And I didn't realize that, it's removable. And I didn't really think about it until I started trying to put my motherboard in and realized that plate was still there. I was like, oh god, what if that whole thing is like solid? What if that was designed specifically for, like, do I have to go and buy a case today to get this done.
Oh no.
So I started looking at it and it was like, I would have had a gaping hole in the back of my case and no way to hold up my graphics card had I not realized that plate was there and you could just pop it out. So I ended up popping that punched out bit. I could pop that out so that it was just one open rectangular thing, and then my motherboard went in there just fine, right? 9 screws. All right, that's not so no problem. Spacers were all where they were supposed to be. 9 screws. It's all in and fine. Started recabling things, so started recabling things, hooking things up, getting the serial ATA cables, and everything. Mounted the power supply, got the power supply in, mounted that, and then started running cables. This power supply that I bought, is really cool in that it's totally modular. So it's, instead of there being just this giant rope of cables coming out of the power supply that you have to route through your case, they have connectors on both ends. So you plug a connector in, you route it through your system to wherever it needs to go, you plug in the other side, you route each set of cables, right? You can do it individually, which is what I did. So really, really slick. And then it was done. Like, it was all connected, and I'm ready to go. I had created a Windows boot media on a Western Digital Elements USB drive. So I had the boot disk ready to go too. And so I plugged it in, turned it on, and it posted. Great. I'm in the
so good.
I'm in the settings. Everything is fine. Right? Looking everything over. It's recognizing the NVMe drives. It's recognizing the RAM. The RAM's the right. It's the right amount of RAM. The clock speed on the RAM was slow.
Wise to check that. Yep.
The clock speed on the RAM was slow. I didn't really think that much of it. No big deal. And then I was like, okay, great. I'm gonna plug in the USB drive. I'm gonna save the settings and I'm gonna go. And then the weirdness started, because then it wouldn't post. It would only post in safe mode when the Western Digital drive was plugged in.
Only in safe mode? That is weird.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Okay. So start troubleshooting. Look some things up online. Find out that the spinning plate drive that I had should be disconnected. And I also moved all of the... I also moved all the serial ATA connectors so that none of them were in the first slot, because that can cause apparently that can cause interface problems or interrupt problems. So I moved that and consistently had problems. Okay? And so then I disconnected the USB drive. It's like, well, maybe it's the USB drive. Maybe I can't use a WD Elements, that kind of USB drive. Maybe I need an actual thumb drive. Maybe there's something about thumb drives. Maybe I don't have my USB drives in the front of the case plugged in correctly. Like, I checked all the wiring to make sure everything was sort of plugged in correctly. Right? Okay. Connected everything back up. Turned the machine on. It posted. Great. I solved the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Plugged the USB drive in. Plugged the USB drive in. Exited the BIOS without saving the settings. Posted in safe mode.
Okay.
Really weird, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm in.
Safe
now
mode
I'm in
is
full on.
Very rarely gets is a requirement. Right? That's usually something you use as a backup because, like, I don't know what's going on.
Okay,
right.
So, went online, looked at the procedure for installing Windows 10 to an NVMe drive, right? Did all of that stuff. Same problem. Only post to safe mode. Okay. Disconnected the Elements drive, flipped the switch in back on the power supply, right? Flipped the switch in back. Counted to 30 or whatever. Flipped the switch back on. Turned the PC on. Posted. Fine. Okay. Narrowing things down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, got out of the BIOS, turned the main box off, flipped the switch in back, counted to 30, flipped that switch back on, plugged in the WD Elements drive. Yeah. Turn the PC on. Booted to the WD Elements drive, and I'm installing Windows.
You're installing Windows.
Yeah. Yep. It went right to it posted fine. It went through the boot sequence. It found the bootable drive on the USB, the WD Elements drive, and suddenly I'm in the welcome to Windows. Please set your region. Are you set region language, yada yada yada. Do you have a key? No, I don't have a key. And it started the installation process for Windows. And ever since then, right, once I got Windows on it, it's been rock solid ever since. It posts every time. It boots into Windows in, like I said, like 8-10 seconds. Like it'll go from a dead stop. I can see it's got diagnostic LEDs on the motherboard, and I can see them because it'll go yellow, red, white, green.
That's useful, yeah.
And it does that. It literally takes it like 3 seconds to do that post that post testing. So I can see it, and every time I turn the computer on, it does that. It's not going into safe mode. It's not doing any of that stuff.
That's a really nice little feature, actually.
Yeah, it is really cool. I have no idea why. I can't tell you what's up. And all I did was, no joke, the last time when I finally was successful with this thing, I switched the power off at the back, because there's a little on-off switch, right, on the back at the power supply. I switched that off for a minute, turned it back on, plugged in the drive that I was going to use as the boot drive, and started the computer, and that worked.
What the hell? I wonder what that was. That's so strange.
Yeah.
I have no idea what could do that.
No, I have no idea. And I'll tell you this much too. I would have never ever found it. I would have never ever found it had I not been a tester and known, like, I have to eliminate all the things that it's not.
Yes.
So
piece
I can
by piece,
so I can tell so I can tell the people what it is, what the problem is. And I would have never found it.
I can't for the life of me think of why I would be doing that, though.
Still, I have no idea. I have no idea. There's some stuff that could have been serendipitous. Like, it's possible the first, it looked up the problem on Google.
Mm-hmm.
And got a couple of videos and didn't really look at the source of those videos, and it said, oh, if you're trying to install Windows 10 to an NVMe drive, then do these things. And so it's like, oh, great, I'll do that. And then I found a little bit more official procedure to go through, so there may be some serendipity in there too. That the first time I followed a bad procedure, and then got back to factory default and then did a better procedure the second time, and that's why it worked.
There was some screwy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. There could be some serendipity there, but it is the weirdest thing, and I can tell you that World of Warcraft is an old game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I've never seen it look more beautiful than it looks right now.
Wow. And then this is a TBC you're playing as well, right?
Yeah.
Not standard. So
no, this is TBC Classic. And
you're seeing a very old. What was that? 2008 or something? The TBC came out.
It was like 07?
So that's a 13-year-old game.
Yeah. And it looks gorgeous.
TBC was a very pretty region.
I was in Nagrand, and I'll tell you what, Nagrand is probably my favorite. Nagrand is probably my favorite zone in the whole game.
I totally get you. We had a poll last week on the show after you left, and one of the questions we asked was, "What's your favorite TBC zone?" And I chose Nagrand as well because it's just such a beautiful, beautiful area.
It is so gorgeous.
The other storms are also very pretty, mind you.
Oh yeah, in a totally different way, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, wow. Yeah.
So you got your computer up and running and everything's fine then?
We are doing the show on it now.
Hey.
And do you remember?
That's a good ending to the story.
So do you remember 3 weeks ago, or the last time that I hosted the show and I was having all these problems in OBS trying to resize windows and things?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
That's weird.
Yeah. Oh, I could click on, I could click on your picture for Skype and resize it, and it was just, the reaction was nearly instantaneous.
Maybe it was just because maybe the software was running on your processor rather than on the graphics card. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be.
That would explain it.
So this system that I tore apart yesterday was about 9 years old. And Kuro in the chat is saying having enough threads for OBS is important. When I pulled the cooler off of the processor, it looked like most of the thermal paste was gone.
Oh, yuck. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. Now, 9-year-old thermal paste, right? That's been in place since 2012, right? I've never taken the cooler off the processor. I've never reapplied anything. Like, the system was, with the exception of upgraded RAM and upgraded graphics cards, as it was in 2012. Right?
Poor old girl.
I know. Finally put out to pasture.
Did she still say vote Obama when you pulled her out? Did she have a little Obama sticker on her?
I got stickers
Ron Paul
on it.
2012.
Yeah, Ron Paul 2012. Woo! But it is a whole. Yeah, Kuro. I had the PC when I was in Colorado. Exactly. I bought it in 2012. I brought it with me to Norway, and I finally used some personal development budget from 2021 to buy the parts to upgrade it because I could tell it needed doing, right.
That means that you've almost been out of the country for almost 10 years now.
It was 6 in April.
Wait, I think it's 2012 you moved.
No, I bought the PC in 2012. I moved in 2015.
Sorry, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah, I bought the PC in 2012 from iBuyPower. It's an iBuyPower PC build that I did. I'm not doing that again, by the way, ever. Other things to talk about on this thing. It's quieter than my old machine was. because it's essentially running. It's essentially running on the fan that came with the Ryzen processor and 3 case fans. And
have you tried running it on like something that's really graphically intensive, like Crisis 1?
No, I haven't done anything like that yet. I don't know. I don't know what that's gonna do.
Did you play Dying Light 1 at all? AKA Dying Light.
I could download and install Doom 2016.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's also a great game.
And turn the settings way, way, way up.
I was just going to say, because Dying Light 2 comes out, I think, this year, maybe? And considering how graphically intensive and how beautiful the first game still looks, it's only a few years old. Mm-hmm. That might be a good benchmark for you.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. That's
I really enjoyed that game. Parkour with zombies.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, that's really all for new PC talk. But it is really great. I have a couple of work related things that that I need to download yet. But it's not like any of that's going to be a problem, so I'm not particularly worried about that. But
oh yeah, I'll take a half a second to download and
it's exactly right. Like I downloaded my copy of Microsoft Office, like all the applications, and it was like a minute. And yeah, it's just it's fantastic. Speaking of, I wonder how much. Okay, I have 856 gigs free on my operating system drive, and 1.76 terabytes free on my games and utilities drive.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
that will almost be enough.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
So before we go on to the main topic of the show, we're actually very close to our break, and instead of like sort of starting our new topic and then having a break, I would suggest that we do our break first.
You want to take the break early?
Yeah, I think that might be wise.
All right. So you've been listening to ShowX for an hour, which has really been story time about fish banes and new PCs. For an hour, and yeah, we will be back after the break to talk about E3 and all of the good stuff. Where is intermission? I don't know if this is gonna work. We're gonna try it. It's gonna be great. We'll see you in about 3.5 minutes. You should be used to this by now because this is an Imperial show. So this is the song of the Holy Roman, the national song of the Holy Roman Empire. And we'll be back with more ShowX right after this.
Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz, hoch als Herrscher, hoch als Weiser, steht er in des Ruhmes Glanz. Liebe windet, Lorbeerreise, ihm zu ewig grünem Glanz. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz. Über blühende Gefilde reicht sein Zepter weit und breit. Säulen seines Throns sind milde, Widersinn und Redlichkeit. Und von seinen Wappenschilde strahlet die Gerechtigkeit. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz. flammt in seiner Hand das Schwert, sie zu siegen, zu beglücken, ist der Preis, den ihr begehrt. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz. Er zerbrach der Knechtschaft Bande, hob zur Freiheit uns empor. Früher lebt der deutscher Lande, deutscher Völker höchsten Flor, und vernehmen noch am Rande Städtergruß der Enkelchor. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz. Gott erhalte Franz den Kaiser, unseren guten Kaiser Franz.
And we're back.
Yes, we are. Definitely.
Welcome
not
back
really
to
tall.
welcome back to ShowX. This is an Imperial show because I'm running it, and we would play the Imperial March, but that would get us DMCA'd. Welcome to Hydroxycut 22, subbed with a Prime subscription. Welcome to the Empire.
Hey, thank you very much.
Join me, and together we will rule the Twitch as subscriber and host, or subscriber and content creator. There it is. Join me, and together we shall rule the Twitch as content creator and sub.
Sub doesn't sound like a subscriber. It sounds like a sub and a sub dom kind of relationship.
Oh yeah,
to me.
no, that's not going to work at all. Let me try that.
Well, unless
again.
they want to. I mean,
no, we got to do it right. Join me, and together we will rule the Twitch as content creator and subscriber.
There we go.
Sir Pencer says, make the Empire great again. I agree. By the way, I play that song at the break simply because that song was played at Otto von Habsburg's funeral, which is really weird. He's like, I think he's either the grandson. Otto von Habsburg would be the grandson or the great-grandson of like one of the last people to refer to themselves as emperor in Europe. Right? Because there weren't that many.
That's a good point, actually. I never really considered that. There weren't that many emperors, were there?
No. So think about it. You had Rome, right? And then Rome dissolved, and you had the Byzantines, right? And they were an empire, so they were an emperor. And then Charlemagne was declared Holy Roman Emperor, Christmas Day 800, right? And then the Holy Roman Empire, the leader of the Holy Roman Empire was referred to as emperor. And then there was then Napoleon. Napoleon declared himself emperor at one point, and then he was defeated. And then there was the German Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they were referred to themselves as emperors, or they were referred to as emperors. And then World War I happened, and monarchy in Europe, with the exception of like a handful. I think there were like 7 or 8, right, at the end of World War I that were left. But that was the end of monarchy in Europe. And certainly the only monarchy left that was big enough to refer to itself as an empire would have been the United Kingdom. But it's always been a kingdom, right? It's not Empress Elizabeth II, it's Queen Elizabeth II. So she's never referred to herself as an empress. The king of Denmark at one point could have, right, but never did. So yeah, the von Habsburgs were among the last people in Europe to refer to themselves as emperors, and I love it. That family is still going on, right? Their family line is still going on. There's still von Habsburgs in the world. I just think that's cool.
That is weird. Well, I suppose that it makes sense. I mean, most kings, emperors, and such tend to have a hell of a lot of children and a hell of a lot of bastards out there as well. So I guess a lot of them have had kids and passed on, right? There's probably quite a lot of people out there with holy blood.
Sure. So you say that, right? But considering how inbred they were for so long, right? That you would have thought that the family would have run afoul of some sort of genetic anomaly or something.
They generally did, but generally speaking, depending on how they marry, like cousins. So I know a little bit about this because I did some research into this topic a while ago.
Okay.
Because I'm curious because some people seem to have this opinion that cousins marrying will immediately cause like major genetic defects, and from what I've seen in real life of people who are like they're famous and stuff and get married and their cousins, it tends to be kind of fine. And I looked it up, and it's the percentage of chance of the increased genetic chance of there being problems between cousins who have children is 0.01%.
Really?
So yeah, but if they then have kids and their kids then get with cousins again, then that increases by a factor. So it goes to 0.1%.
Oh, wow.
And I'm guessing, there's nothing that said this, but I'm guessing that if it continued on that sort of path, that would increase again. Maybe not by a whole factor, but again by a chunk, at least maybe up to 1%. Right?
Sure. Okay.
But that's and again,
cool.
It depends on. Yeah, well, I don't know if "cool" is the right word, but it's interesting. I think it's more of a social thing, which is good that we generally down upon.
Oh yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm using "cool" as like not. Oh, that's really awesome. More as a wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, like I all these situations where like, long lost cousins who don't even know their cousins fall in love and they get married and they have kids and then they find out it's not a big deal, man. No. I mean, like, it's fine. Like if you already know your cousins or if you already know there's a family relation there, whatever it is, that's a power thing, which is different, and that's why it's taboo, right? Like if you have like a grandfather and a niece or something, that's taboo for a reason. There's a power thing there which makes that weird. Mm-hmm. Just like a police officer and I don't know a criminal or a jail guard and a criminal or a judge and a criminal or a teacher and a student. Any of these things are weird because of the power thing, right? Right. That makes it weird and immoral.
Right. And authority figure over a person that they have charge of. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So like the cousin stuff is generally fine. Like, but socially we look down on it, which is probably wise as well because it does discourage it, which means there's less likely to be. But at the same time, if you think about people saying, "Oh, well, the chances of defects is so high," if you actually look at people who actually have known genetic issues. Right, there are a slew of them out there. There are a lot of genetic issues out there. If two people with the same genetic issue, like extra or missing chromosomal parts, the chances of their kids having the same defect is 100%, right? Depending on which one it is.
Right.
And that's legal, and that's fine. We're totally okay with that. So if you have somebody who has Down syndrome and they mate with somebody else who has Down syndrome, and they have children, we would as a society be like, yep, that's fine. We're okay with this. And legally we'd be like, yep, that's fine. But when cousins who have a 0.01% chance increase of being defect, we're like, oh, that's wrong. It's weird, isn't it? I'm not trying to take a side here.
It's not a value judgment. It's just a weird idiosyncrasy of the culture and the standards under which we operate, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just trying to think. Denmark, Norway, England, Spain, Liechtenstein, Monaco, maybe the Netherlands. I have monarchies left in Europe. And I know 6, but I'm not sure about I'm not sure about the Netherlands. I think that's probably wrong, but it doesn't matter.
And they're all sort of pseudo-monarchies in a way nowadays. It's not as if they're actually, like, the vast majority of them are...
And the vast majority of them are related to Queen Victoria.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Anyway.
Because that's the only way they'd be worthy, of course, is if they inbreed across other royal families.
Yeah, she was really good about sending family members off to other royal courts. Like, that's conquest of Europe by other means. Right? Well, so think about it. Using as precedent, there was a point in time in which a Habsburg came to the throne of Spain, or was going to come to the throne of Spain, right? And that would have meant that the same family ruled Germany, Austria, Hungary, plus or minus, and Spain, right? Which would have meant France was totally surrounded. Like, they have enemies on all sides, except for the one little part that borders Italy, and even then it was kind of, right? So, using that as precedent, imagine if monarchy had survived long enough for all the people that are related to Queen Victoria to have all become sovereigns at the same time. Right? And so then the British royal family controls Britain, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany, Spain, Portugal, parts of Italy, right? That's the whole of Europe. Like, no one's standing against that. No one. So
That's a good point. Yeah, I think with your unique perspective, well, I'll say unique, with your perspective on history being that, from playing the video games where you can literally marry for political advantage, you kind of see that more easily than I think I would, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, let's talk about E3. It was virtual.
It's less than half the show, and we named the show after it, so we should probably do it.
Okay. I don't want to pee in anybody's Cheerios, right? But as a rule, I'm sort of done with the entertainment industry jerking itself off. Like, I'm just done with it. I'm done with all of the award shows in the entertainment media, like all of them. Film, music.
So you mean like Oscars and everything as well?
Yeah, done with it all. Don't care. I haven't cared about like the Oscars for a long time, but I don't care about any of that. I don't care about any of the coming soon stuff either. Just don't. I know I should be hyped for the new Dune movie that's coming out on Apple TV sometime this summer.
Oh, I am.
I watched the original. I really forgot that Paul Atreides is revealed to be the Kwisatz Haderach. Roll credits. He is the Kwisatz Haderach movie by. It's like, wow, that was fast.
Yeah, that's not what happens in the book.
Hey, I expect not.
I've not actually seen the film. I've only read the book.
So from PC Gamer, and I guess I'll drop this in the chat because I'm a good egg that way. Bam. No physical E3 this year in LA. There's going to be one next year, I believe. So here's what we saw.
It's not over yet, by the way. We've only got the news for up to today. So there's two more days of E3 to go.
I didn't even know that. The Anacrusis, Left 4 Dead style cooperative shooter with a sci-fi theme, so it's aliens instead of zombies, and a stylistic bright art style, coming out this fall. Cool. Available in both. Available on both Steam and the Epic Games Store. Like, I haven't played a Left 4 Dead game since the original Left 4 Dead. Like,
I didn't really get it. You know what? Like, I get that it was a big impact. It had a big impact, and people loved it. Even in our community, loads of people played it. I just didn't care that much with Left 4 Dead. I tried.
It's fine.
I put in like a good 10 hours trying to play with people. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
It was okay. I didn't find the combat was particularly interesting,
Yeah.
and I found that it lagged too much.
We're
Usually,
really we're really just gonna do this in alphabetical order, kids. So strap in. Back for Blood, Turtle Rock Studios, Left 4 Dead again, four player co-op zombie FPS. The bad guys are called the Ridden, and there's gonna be machine gun, grenaded people, a lumpy fellow with glowing insides, according to this, a thing with leeches for mouth, or leeches in his mouth.
isn't it a bit weird that this is like the new thing? Why are there so many games that are being produced that have this format? Like this is not a new thing.
I don't know. And a copy pasta of the Icon of Sin from Doom Eternal, apparently.
I mean, I know that the current thing was Battle Royale. I say current. I guess that was probably the last thing. We were looking forward to see what the next will be. And before that was MOBAs. And before that was MMOs.
Yep.
But I feel like we're, and to be fair, mobile games fit in. We're kind of like growing all the way alongside that as well. To be fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good sort of overview of what's been going on in the genres of the past few years, a couple of decades actually. Yep. But what's going to go on next? What's the next big thing? Are they just going over old stuff like, oh, Left 4 Dead was popular, right? To try and guess what the next thing's going to be? Are they trying to force it?
You remember that game that the four good players dominated and everybody else was kind of like, well, this sure was a thing. I don't know. Battlefield 2042. Not 2142, not 1942, but 2042. 2042 is the number of the battlefield, and the number of the battlefield shall be 2042.
So I'm interested in this. What makes this that's an interesting choice, because if you say 100 years in the future, you can put some pretty fantastical sci-fi stuff in there and have some fun,
like robots,
gravity boots or whatever, right? Yeah, you can go kind of crazy. But 2042 is so near that 20 years tech. I mean, admittedly, think about 2000 to 2020.
Yeah,
that jump in technology is kind of insane, but also less insane than 1988 to 2000, right?
Right.
So what are we expecting in the 2040s that you
good
can do
question.
in the game?
Good question. It's a near future Battlefield which increases match size to 128 players and introduces specialists with gadgets like Rainbow Six Siege operators.
Sounds kind of battle royale so far, just by the size of the game.
There's no single player and no battle royal mode, but there are a couple of mystery modes we'll learn about in the future. So it's 64 on 64 squad based.
That's quite cool.
Yeah,
I'm into that.
It's not gonna have the leveling problem that Call of Duty had. So that might be all right if they go back to the Battlefield 1942 formula. Then it might be okay. It might be okay.
I mean, I never really played any Battlefield games. I remember wanting to years ago, but never having the computer power to do so. And then the game became old, and now I'm no longer interested.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What's the difference between Battlefield? Who can tell me what the difference between Battlefield and COD is? Chat, tell us why one's your preference over the other.
Battlefield is by far better because it didn't have that stupid leveling gimmick in it, where you got better.
I don't mind leveling.
Where you got better guns based on what level you were, right? And the guns that you got, and this is going back to Modern Warfare, and the gun you got at level 50 was just far and away better than every other gun in the game, and so you had to. No, I mean far and away better.
Okay. No, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with that point. I mean, I just mean leveling in general. I'm not against. I think there are ways that can be done that make it okay.
Neither am I. If it unlocks cosmetic things, not gameplay altering things, then I'm totally fine with it. What's that?
Say there's classes, for example. Say for example, there's. Let me not even give the names of classes, because I think that adds bias to things. Okay. Let's just say there's 3 main classes in the game. Yep. Kind of like what BioShock does. How about that? Where you have soldiering, you have bio magic, and you have tech. right?
Okay.
All completely distinct, have their own gameplay styles, and they specialize in different things that are useful for different things.
Yep.
And then as you progress, you can unlock those three. And then as you progress further, you can unlock, for example, mixes of the three. So not one class is particularly better, but they might have like, tipping their toes in different things and trying out different things. Like maybe they all have access to different types of grenades, but they all have different features or are better in certain situations and stuff. You can have differing gameplay uh stuff that you unlock that isn't necessarily just immediately better. Like this gun has higher damage or higher range.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead, you'd say here's a set of class features you unlock that are different, that are more fun, or only used in certain circumstances, or better for mobility, but you lose some combat strength.
Sure.
Yada yada yada.
Sure.
Right. I think there's elegant ways to deal with that.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Well, so we're 4 titles in, and we got our first not game ? The Dark Pictures Anthology: House of Ashes, another interactive horror movie from the folks that brought us the previous Dark Picture games, like the Man of Medan.
I've never even heard of this before.
This Dark Picture is set in Iraq in 2003 and follows a group of American soldiers who tumble into a Sumerian temple underground. Like, if that was like, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it now. Oh no, arcade game, done on Laserdisc. Dirk the Daring was the main character. Dark something. Shoot, Dragon's Lair. That's what it is. If this was like Dragon's Lair, I might be into it, but otherwise, not so much. Elden Ring from Software's, I guess From is the name of the company, From Software's dark fantasy collaboration with Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin.
Okay, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Having that big name when it makes a big difference.
First gameplay trailer, apparently, at E3. So, January 2022 release. Not much more data on it than that, but I guess if that sounds interesting, check it out. Endless Dungeon. Tower defense for up to 3 players. Protect crystals from alien bugs on a space station.
I love tower defense games. I adore them. Like, they are such a weak spot for me. I will pretty much try any tower defense game once.
Emphasizing die and try again. Emphasizing the die and try again, apparently, in the trailer. Nature of the cartoonish sci-fi roguelike from Amplitude, the makers of the Endless series. So I guess this is something like Endless Space for in medieval setting or something.
Okay.
Evil Dead the game. 30 years too late, at least.
That seems unnecessary. I mean, the whole genre is so inundated with the number of zombie games out there, and Evil Dead is a good movie and a classic amongst the genre of zombie stuff. And Ash, is that the main character's name?
Yep.
Yeah, he's an icon, right?
Of course.
But I don't see what is it, single player? Is it multiplayer? Is it horror?
Wait.
Is it action?
Cooperative zombie slayer, reminiscent of Left 4 Dead.
Okay, they're trying something.
Revealed trailer was shown during Summer Game Fest. Some grim horror environments fairly reminiscent of Friday the 13th, the game. Four-player melee.
I don't care about horror games anymore.
4-player melee co-op game.
Do you like horror
as a game?
Yeah, do you like horror games?
Or just like as a genre in general?
No, a game specifically.
No. Not really. Not since the original Resident Evil.
I don't find them fun at all.
Yeah.
Like, most of them are just focusing on the scary part without actually having any gameplay. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about the feeling of being scared.
It's not my jam. It's not my jam. Like, I don't want to dig on it because I don't. The last really great horror game I played was the original Resident Evil. Like, Silent Hill wasn't even that great in a relative sense.
What was that freaking indie game that got massive called with Slender Man? I think Slender Man was the last good horror.
Okay, yeah, maybe. It may be. Let me see. Hey, we've made it to F. Far Cry 6.
I am super
Giancarlo.
excited for Far Cry 6. I
Yeah,
loved Far Cry 5.
Giancarlo Esposito is an evil dad, and you need to shoot his bad guys. Cool. Actually, isn't Giancarlo? Isn't that Moff Gideon?
Mm-hmm. I don't know what that means. Is that a person?
Moff Gideon was the Moff Gideon was in the Mandalorian. That's what I thought. Moff Gideon was the bad guy in the Mandalorian. He's also Danish. We're gonna focus on Giancarlo Esposito for a little while. He born Copenhagen, Denmark, and he was in the Mandalorian. Yep, Moff Gideon. Cool. That might be worth checking out. That's the first game that I'll consider buying, believe it or not, out of this whole list. So far.
Yeah, Far Cry 6, dude. Yep. I can't believe how much I've enjoyed that series. Like number 5 has in fact, this week I've been slowly learning keyboard, right? Learning piano.
Okay.
And my next song I'm trying to learn is Now That This World Is Ending from Far Cry 5. Such a great song. Cool. And that's the one I'm currently trying to learn. I've played that thing on repeat for months now.
Neat.
I've even played the game for over a year, but the music was so good.
Neat. That's awesome. Oh, Far Cry 6 is going to have a season pass for its DLCs.
Whatever.
Yep.
I've never once bought a season pass yet, have you?
Yeah, Destiny 2 twice. And Borderlands 2?
Isn't it effectively pre-ordering though?
Yeah. But before I realized that Borderlands 2 was just for people who raid, I was a fan. I wanted to show support. Right?
Sure.
So I didn't feel that much. I didn't feel that bad for plunking down the extra coin to get the DLC pass, because I had faith in Gearbox, because Borderlands 1 was awesome, and then they went for the Twitch and gaming YouTube crowd instead of for what brought them to the dance. And Borderlands 2 was fine, and then everything after that was kind of not sorry. Pre-sequel and Borderlands 3 was kind of garbo. Cool.
Yeah, I never got into. I enjoyed number 1, playing that with people, but it was the people who made it, not really the game. You know what I mean?
Yep. So there's a compilation of indie games called the Guerrilla Collective. Kojima's got a new game. Jurassic World Evolution 2. It's an amusement.
That is such a title, isn't it?
Yep.
That's funny.
Jurassic World Evolution 2. It's an amusement park simulator, except the amusement park has dinosaurs. Cool. Looks prettier than its predecessor. So there was apparently a Jurassic World Evolution 1.
You know what? I just remembered. I remember back on Game Boy. I don't even think it was color, but I remember back on Game Boy. I remember playing Jurassic Park, the game, and you had to look after this little park, and of course everything immediately goes wrong, and you have to drive around and solve problems and avoid dinosaurs and fight them and stuff. And is this a second version of that, or
I don't know.
After 20 years, 30 years?
Good question. I'm gonna skip this because this is just a bunch of This is just talking about a dev house and just a bunch of stuff that they might be doing. Lego Builder's Journey, Monument Valley, but in Lego. If you're the kind of person that complains that the Lego games are all about smashing Lego instead of making things with it, this is the game for you. Seems like a puzzle adventure game, which might be interesting.
I quite like that kind of thing. You know what? Puzzle games I used to look down on. I used to see them as kind of fake idea. Not really video games, just they're almost like people who make board games trying to, or I don't know, puzzles in magazines trying to get in on the video game scene. At least that's what I thought when I was a kid. And I just never really touched puzzle games because of that. But in recent years, I've been playing them more and more, and you know what? They're actually really fun, often well thought out. Some have beautiful graphics and music attached to them as well. Like they are genuinely good video games out there that are puzzle based.
Gotcha. Very cool. So next on the list, Loot River, Diablo and Tetris, apparently combo meal. You have a sword swing, but you can move platforms around and do bad things to people when you make Tetrises or whatever. Okay. If it's a roguelike and it releases at a correct price point, I'll probably check that out. I like me a good roguelike. So, like with a $20 price tag, that might be interesting.
That does seem like your Achilles heel for your wallet.
I do like me some roguelikes. Yeah, I really do.
You're a glutton for punishment, I think.
And the problem is, like, Enter the Gungeon I suck at. I suck at Enter the Gungeon and Nuclear Throne, and yet I love them both. So
yeah, I've played. Actually, have you ever played that? I'll see if I can remember the name of it. It's on Android. I'll have to send you a link to it. There's a rogue RPG, a roguelike RPG type game on Android that is absolutely fantastic. And I played that like so much, and there's like 50 levels, and I never got past level 5. But I think it might be something you could probably just do immediately because of your experience with the genre.
This still comes down to dexterity at some points, and that's where I fail. So not so much with the strategy, usually with So there's this thing that happened with roguelikes, right? Where they decided that having dynamic fights that could be ended quickly was a bad thing. And you have to have these fights that are drawn out for like 3 minutes. That require precision controller work at different points, right? To get through it. And I just don't have the patience to sit there and bash my head. So that's the difference between Isaac and Gungeon, as an example, right? With Isaac, up until this latest expansion, if you got really great items, you could insta-kill bosses, right? Or two-shot bosses, for example. Even the end not really the secret end bosses, but like a normal playthrough end bosses, like 2 or 3 shot them. So it wasn't really like there's some nimble controller work that you would have to do to get through those things, but only if the itemization in your run was really bad. Whereas to me, Nuclear Throne and Gungeon always felt like I've got to be really nimble with the controller, and things will be somewhat easier if I get really great guns.
Right.
And so and that's why I say I suck at Nuclear Throne and Gungeon, because I don't have that kind of nimble controller dexterity anymore.
Makes sense. Have you ever played? Sorry, I was just thinking of roguelikes and how much you like them. There's this other game that I absolutely adore that I think you would quite like as well. It's called Crypt of the Necrodancer. I might have recommended it to you in the past. Actually, I can't remember.
I have seen it. I have seen it played.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about that on the beat sort of gameplay. That's one of the things that's always sort of kept me away from it.
Okay. I mean, you can put in custom music, right?
Oh, okay.
So you can you can do the entire game that way.
Okay.
So you can kind of jam around with like
through the fire and flames.
Oh yeah, you really can. I've done it with some fast ones, and I've done it with slow ones. The problem is when you have a game that doesn't have an obvious beat, sometimes it gets it wrong and it doesn't sound quite right.
Yeah, sure.
But if you're going for some of the more fast paced, or even just sort of anything that's pop, anything that's rock is generally fine. It's if you go for like classical music, you're pretty much screwed because it's much harder to get the beats on those. Mm-hmm. But it's I've had so much fun. Like you can do it per, you can choose custom music per level and per boss, or you can listen to the default track. But that means you can have some control over the speed. And yeah, generally the issue that you're going to do is your timing is going to be very key. So you can either make you can customize the challenge to be how you think it should be based on the songs you pick.
Okay.
I admit that there's a couple songs that I used to like that I kind of hate now because it reminds me of how badly I play that game.
Okay.
But
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll keep that on my list, and if I see it on Steam for cheap, at some point, I'll add it to my library because word of mouth is how I find out about good games anymore, and so I should take the advice of the people I trust as a matter of principle. Lost Ark is next on our list. Enormously popular free-to-play MMO from Korea. Slash and loot like Diablo, Amazon is releasing it in English. 15 customizable character classes, blend of high fantasy and sci-fi, so not only will you be blowing up robots, but you'll be blowing up fairies too. And beta signups apparently are happening now. Next on the list, that sounds fun, but I already have an MMO, so I don't know. Like,
have you ever been interested in what's that called? Age of Ashes, I think it's called.
No. No.
It's a new MMO that I started following this in like 2014 or something.
Okay.
And I've not. It's still in development, and yeah, I'm the same. Once you have one MMO, you don't want to have multiple, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I also have an ARPG too. It's called Path of Exile. I suck at that too, but
I can't stand that game, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the talent tree that they have there. That's
it's
awesome.
So beautiful. Yeah.
It is. It really is pretty. But I just don't. I don't know. Every time I've tried to play it, and I feel like I should be able to enjoy it, but every time I can only manage it 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I am not having a good time. I don't know why. I should really think about that more.
No, totally fair. Totally fair. Next up, Metal Slug Tactics. Pixel art squad tactics in the Metal Slug universe. Okay, so Metal Slug is a side-scrolling anime art style action game. And apparently this is going to be a turn-based tactics game in that form. Which seems like it could be cool.
Cool, yeah. I love the art style of that. I've seen some of it just be posted around in the form of art rather than the form of this is a game kind of thing.
Yeah, a friend of ours likes Metal Slug as far as his side-scrolling action shooter games goes. So, yeah, he might be interested in that. Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin, sequel to the original Monster Hunter Stories, which adds a monster collecting twist. It's an RPG apparently. Great for the Monster Hunter fans out there. I wouldn't come within 50 miles of that game.
Why is that?
Just doesn't. I don't have any investment in the universe, so I won't know anything about the story or the lore behind it. Like,
so, Kid and I started playing a little bit Monster Hunter last year, 2 years ago, and because I thought people seem to love it. Some of the game reviewers that we respect seem to really enjoy it. Yep. And plus they have these new cute little cat creatures which like accompany you in your battles, and so I was like, okay, Kitten's gonna love this. But I don't know. It felt very okay. Welcome to the game. Or here's a million things and customization that you can do, and of course you should know about these 25 different weapons that exist in medieval times that you can choose from. Some of which are now sci-fied, and you should know which ones are the best ones for each monster. Go. And I'm like, this is terrifying. Like, it didn't really hold my hand enough to teach me the game style. It had an assumption that I would know what everything was, and that kind of annoyed me.
Yep. No, so I played Dauntless for a while, which is like Diet Monster Hunter, and it was simultaneously. I simultaneously felt the pressure of I needed to know exactly what I was doing, because I was always in these groups that are just thrown together at random, right? But at the same time, like, I'm thrown together with 3 strangers. We're together for 9 minutes. We kill a thing. We go back to town. I never see those people again.
Yeah.
So it was simultaneously like I'm alone in this world that's supposed to be an MMO, and yet I feel the pressure of having to optimize like I'm in an MMO.
Yeah,
And I was just
that's
like,
completely understandable.
oh, okay, how many times can I kill this thing by chopping off its tail and then chopping off its head, and then, or not its head, but the spikes on the back of its neck, and then I chop off like the claws and its front foot, and now I can kill it because I have to chop all those things off to harvest mats to make my weapons better. I guess. Like, I don't know, it just,
Sounds all like work.
yeah, it does sound like work. It does sound like work. Rainbow Six Extraction. Co-op Rainbow Six Siege. Completing objectives while fighting off aliens. Okay. Riders Republic. An MMO follow-up to Steep? What's Steep? Featuring mountain biking, skiing, snowboarding, wingsuit flying, and some terrifying activity called rocket wingsuiting. Oh, okay.
That's pretty unique sounding. I'm all for that kind of creativity.
Yeah, that might be not so bad. That'll be for that'll be for the people that get grounded from Fortnite or
Very good.
right?
Very good.
Rocksmith Plus. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, by the way, the recent Fortnite update for anybody who's interested is actually very fun. We're having a great time. The last patch, the last season really sucked. It really wasn't very fun comparatively, but this current season is really, really great. Where my friends and I are really enjoying it.
Cool. Rocksmith Plus, rhythm game that teaches you to play real guitar or bass. Returning as a subscription
what's the plus
service.
all about? Oh, Jesus. Why?
Will still Rocksmith Plus will still support cable connection. You'll also be able to use a mobile app. And instead of DLC, the subscription will net you a growing catalog of music.
You know what, man? If they offered like if Spotify had this cool thing where like, oh, if you get Rocksmith, you can get 3 months free Spotify, and you having Spotify Premium gives you access to any Rocksmith songs that are on
Now you're talking.
Spotify and on Rocksmith. I'd love
Now
that.
you're
That would be
talking.
all. I would so sign up. I would so sign up. By the way, my video has changed. I don't know what's happened.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I would totally sign up for that. But you know, I don't want to pay a separate and like, come on, guys, we cut the cable to get rid of all this crap. Why are subscription services the new thing? You can even get a subscription like service for like coffee, for whiskey, for beer, for like freaking cheese. You can get a subscription service for anything you want, and I don't like that. You know what? I don't like having subscriptions for everything.
Here, sir. I agree. I don't. Yeah, that was my big. That was my big concern with the fractionalizing of all the streaming services. Is that like the whole point of going to streaming is so that I don't have to grotesquely overpay for all the advertising that comes with cable TV. Well, I'm still grotesquely overpaying, and now it's just I have to pay Disney, and I have to pay HBO, and I have to pay Netflix, and I have to pay Amazon, and I have to pay. That's so weird. You just reverted. Why is that doing that?
Hell.
I legit do not understand. It is literally the weirdest thing. All right.
Thanks, OPS, for fixing yourself.
Oh, it did it again. Stop it. Stop it.
That's amusing.
Lock. All right. I'm clicking.
All right, what's next on the list?
Sultan's Sacrifice, a sequel to Sultan's Sanctuary, a gorgeous 2D Metroidvania, which borrowed heavily from the Dark Souls series. Okay. Fairly in keeping with what fans of the original will expect, although the action does look faster. Cool. And supposedly online co-op play is supported. So that'll be dope. If you liked the original, you'll probably like that. Cool.
I miss when I used to get excited at E3. Go on.
I know, right? Sifu, a single-player kung fu brawler from the creators of Absolver. Okay, that might be fun. Kung fu brawler, depending on what the controls are like, right? All of those sort of beat 'em up style games or like Souls games or whatever. It's all controls, right?
Yeah.
So
People love a Souls game.
yeah. Making
Or do they? I don't know.
making
I think
good
it's memes.
making good games is the Dark Souls of making games.
Yeah, that is very, very meta and
Isn't
true.
it? Isn't it? Solar Ash, a stylish platforming adventure from Heart Machine, the studio behind Hyper Light Drifter. I don't know what that is. Protagonist leaping onto the back of a winged monster that's in the trailer, scanning across its wings, and back to jab it with I don't know what needly nodes are. And then I guess the protagonist kicks it in the face, which neat action game sounds interesting. I guess if it's available on Steam for dirt cheap, it'd be worth a check out or something. Tales of Arise, the 17th game in the Tales of ... Japanese RPG series. So, yet another Japanese RPG. If you're a fan of the series, you'll probably like it. I don't know anything about it, so I can't really tell you.
You must lose so much inspiration when they're like, all right, boss, what are we working on next? Well, we're going to be working on the 17th iteration of this very same game. So get back into the same development tools. Get back into the exact same seat you've been in for the past 12 years. Nothing's changing.
So you know that thing that you made a little while ago? Make that again.
Yeah.
In this new engine. That doesn't port from the old one, so you'll have to redo it all from scratch.
Oh my god. Make it again, but this time you're going to be making it with, you're going to be making it for Xbox 5 or whatever instead. Nice.
Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
Really? They're making a Borderlands thing?
According to Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford, for me, bringing actual Borderlands guns to fight dragons, skeletons, goblins, and more in an original fantasy world imagined by the galaxy's deadliest 13-year-old as a new full-featured AAA video game is a dream come true. So was Duke Nukem Forever and Aliens Colonial Marines. Just remember that, everybody.
I kind of like this idea. I'm a bit sick of Borderlands in general, but at least they're doing something different for once.
Gearbox hasn't made a good game since Borderlands 1. Well, Borderlands 2. They haven't. And their last two efforts have been, actually last three efforts, have been total trash. Duke Nukem Forever was garbage. Aliens Colonial Marines was garbage. Battleborn... Is that the name of it? Like, Battleborn got completely swallowed by... the Blizzard one. The
Blizzard
squad,
one?
role-based squad shooter with the objectives and stuff like Team Fortress 2, but with stylized characters. Why can't I think of the name of that thing?
Overwatch?
That's it.
Oh.
Yeah, Battleborn got swallowed by Overwatch. And so it's been a long time since Gearbox was at the head of a good game.
Speaking of games I don't care about, I have never enjoyed Overwatch. Right. I tried it. It just wasn't for me at all.
I agree. Here's the part that I agree with you rather than just disagreeing with you. It's one of the best characters to lead this thing. So putting Tiny Tina at the head of it is a great idea.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the Gearbox formula. So there will probably be 11 billion different types of gear to get your hands on. I mean, that has worked for 12 years.
It's fun. That's fun. And you unlock interesting new abilities and stuff as you go, and your crazy elemental times 7 sniper rifle that you shoot somebody and their face melts off while on
Yeah,
fire. That's fun,
right.
right? But at the same time, like it got formulaic,
Sure.
and so at least with fantasy elements now, they could maybe add in some more
So it'll be
spells and
it'll be a
stuff. Make it a
dragon's
bit more
it'll be a
interesting.
dragon's face that you melt off,
Hopefully, there's a bit more to the
right?
playing, the actual gameplay, rather than just the
And
world.
the really good loot will be tucked behind raids.
Yeah, that would be
Two
disappointing.
point 2 Point Campus, a college management sim from the creators of 2 Point Hospital. Okay. I think that Mistress of Giggles plays 2 Point Hospital. So she might be interested in this, although I don't know because
Oh, I've heard of this. I know Tuba Hospital. Yeah, I've seen a lot.
yeah,
Steam goes crazy for that. That seems to always be getting advertised to me for some reason.
yeah. So that might be
So they're like
that might
one of
be
the more
cool.
modern versions of like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but in a hospital or
Yeah,
something.
it's something like that. Yeah, you're managing. You're set a set of goals, and you're managing how to get to those goals, right? Like,
Cool.
yeah, yep. Let me.
I do enjoy simulation games if they're done right.
Yeah, I mean it's not my jam, but it might be. Like I said, if you're one of those people who enjoyed, if you're one of the people who enjoyed 2 Point Hospital, you'll probably enjoy this. Because my guess is it's going to be the same kind of thing, except with university hijinks instead of hospital hijinks, which kind of,
Yeah.
given the last year and a half, is kind of understandable. Oh gosh, we only have like 3 left. Valorant got a new character teaser. So Riot's tactical shooter Valorant got a teaser trailer for a new character. It'll be overpowered until the first balance patch, and then people will be able to get it for less than what the original release price was. So it'll get nerfed through the dirt. Like,
I totally forgot that Valorant even existed. Is that still a thing? Are people still going mad over
I
it?
don't,
Like it seems to have disappeared
I
suddenly.
don't know. I have no idea. I
Are we getting old, Todd? I feel like there's all these games that are like, whatever.
no. Here's what it is. Here's what it is. In the time that I've been back on this show, right? We have talked about. Remember that time when Blizzard was a top 5 development house? You could say the same thing for Gearbox, right? They came out of nowhere and suddenly they were a top 5 development house, right? We've gotten loot boxes. We've gotten low-grade gambling, which is essentially loot boxes, but I'm thinking about like wagering gear. There was that, I think it was it CSGO? Or a website associated with CSGO. It was a big scandal because streamers were gambling gear against the people watching their stream, and there were some shenanigans going on behind the scenes. I don't really remember. Really remember all the exact details behind it, but there are a dozen major esports scandals that have happened in the last 4 or 5 years, right? The games media is in the games media is in the worst state that it's ever been, ever, right? So they're the people who would be the watchmen for the consumer can't or won't do their job, right? I mean, they'll talk about they'll talk about social issues, and Jason Schreier will occasionally write about the fact that a development house did crunch. Welcome to the real world, because every development house does crunch everywhere in all industries. So that was nothing new when he first broke it, at least not to me. So what? I've got 2 really good video games. I've got a development house that I trust, and when Paradox Interactive, by the by, in case you were wondering. And when they come out with a bad DLC, I stop playing it and move to move to the other game for a month. And in a month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, they've fixed it. and I go back to playing the game from the dev house that I trust, right? And if EU4, let's say a patch for EU4, a DLC for EU4 comes out that I just really can't stand, well, then it's time for me to learn Hearts of Iron or Crusader Kings or Imperator Rome, because I have all of those too, right? Or I just play World of Warcraft more, or I go back to the Binding of Isaac, right? If I call up my Steam list, I have over 200 games in it. I could play Doom 2016 again. I could go back to Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. Like, that'll tickle my fancy for 40, 50, 60 hours, right? Like, I've got this Steam library that's chucked full of greatness. I don't need any of this. At all. At all.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I mean, there's some stuff in this list that is kind of interesting, but like Far Cry 6 is especially good. But there's so much in there. There's just
there's a couple of things that look like they could be roguelike-y, sort of roguelike games that when they're available for dirt cheap, I'll probably be like, yeah, I could afford not to have a coffee this week.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but there's nothing that nothing in there that's making you say, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to save up and get the ultimate edition of this game and drop $200 because I need this in my life."
I can't wait to start my next Battle Pope campaign in EU4. That's what this list of games made me do. It's like, well, I'm going to play Battle Pope. I'll probably do another campaign in Japan. I'll probably do. I have to do a First Nations campaign. Play as a First Nations tribe in North America and play with those mechanics because I've never done it, right? That's 70, 80 hours worth of gameplay for me, and it will cost me $0. Yep. Whereas I can't point to one game in this list, with the exception of maybe Far Cry 6, where I would say I'm going to drop the price of admission on that, and I'm going to feel like I got my money's worth at the end.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. Far Cry 6 is the only game there that I care about. And it makes me wonder, actually, because I wonder if World of Warcraft back in the day had that same kind of impact on the industry of, well, there's games out there that give people, like World of Warcraft, so much in the way of a good time, they don't feel the need to buy new games. Instead, they're happy to drop like a sub or whatever. Or in terms of League of Legends, maybe you could consider it being skins. Or there's games that can have such longevity that must affect the purchasing rates of other games.
Maybe, but
must be.
But supposedly, right? This is what's supposedly been so great about the gaming industry, right? That there are so many people playing, and there's so much money out there. That somebody really ought to be able to find something, or everybody really ought to be able to find something for them. There's nothing in this list for me. Not one thing. Why did you get big? Why did that happen?
Get big or go
Mother
home.
of pearl. I well and truly don't. Get back here. All right. You, by the way, your scene in this, or your part of the scene in OBS has been locked. Like this.
So it's still doing that, even though I'm locked already.
Yeah. I have the whole folder locked. See, you just got small again. This is fantastic. I love this.
There must be some reason for it.
I'll tell you what. I got something, actually. We should go through the rest of the list, and we will. But I'm gonna fix.
Well, you have to remember that we don't necessarily have to do it today because there's going to be more over the next 2 days anyway for E3. So I imagine we'll probably want to touch on anything that's particularly worth our time next week as well.
There's a new Vampire the Masquerade. Putting the Bat in Battle Royale. It's a Vampire the Masquerade Battle Royale game. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry I read that. And story DLC for Watch Dogs Legion, and that's it. That's the list.
Wow, that is some underwhelming stuff right there. To be fair, I think we can blame COVID for that in part.
Sure.
I mean, it's been hard to develop stuff for this past
Oh
year and a
yeah, yeah,
half,
yeah.
and that's
No, I'm
understandable.
not.
However,
Okay, so I have two rants, and I only have 4 minutes, which is not good. Um, I understand the fact that COVID kept everybody at home, and it may not have necessarily been conducive to the creative process to try and do group-based creativity and development virtually on, in virtual spaces and meeting rooms and stuff like that. At the same time, these people are professionals.
yes, you're absolutely right.
And
I,
I
yeah,
so I'm not giving anybody I'm not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt. I'm not giving anybody a pass because of COVID. I've had to work and continue to produce and provide value for my boss. And I managed somehow to do it, and Norway's been on double secret hyper lockdown for the better part of a year. Oh, fully vaccinated, by the way, for 2 days.
hey, congratulations. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Did you have any
Feeling
side
good.
effects?
No.
Nice.
Vaccine 2 way better than vaccine 1. I was
Cool.
slightly sore in my left arm for like 36 hours, and
I had the opposite effect. Number 2 was pretty
Yeah,
painful.
I was surprised because number 1 kind of knocked me on my butt. So I was kind of worried that number 2 was like really going to kick the crap out of me on the weekend that I was trying to rebuild my computer. So I was a little bit worried. You grew in size again. I don't understand. We're just doing. You know what? There are only 2 minutes left. We're doing it like this. Here's the other thing that really pisses me off. There are software development houses, not video game, but software development houses, specialized tool developers. You got even bigger. I don't know. I legit don't know. Whoop. There we go. All right. And they their interface looks pretty, and the way they market themselves to user bases and purchasing people is real slick and whatnot, and they crowdsource basic functionality. There's this tool that we use in engineering, or that is being used in engineering, and essentially what it is this pretty interface on top of a relational database. Okay,
Okay.
and they did not include complex querying out of the box. You have
Wow.
to buy. You have
Okay.
to buy an add-on to do complex querying.
That's a great way for them to make money after originally selling it to people who don't know anything about technology.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yep. And by the way, if we're running out of time.
Yeah,
I did not believe at first this idea that margins, think of a per unit sales margin. I did not believe that margins were so incredibly thin that you had to do stuff like that. But apparently, it is the case because everyone's doing it.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's more the case of it's all about maximizing profit regardless of anything else at all.
Maybe.
Entirely. I mean,
Maybe I just
people
don't.
choosing to.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, the minimum wage in the U.S. for tipped workers hasn't increased in 30 years.
No,
and
true.
it's $2.33, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Which is insane.
No,
That's,
it is.
that is absolutely insane. And when you think of why hasn't that changed? Is because it makes businesses money.
Sure.
Never mind the fact these people need to eat or feed their kids or whatever. Never mind any of that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a long discussion. That's
Yes,
it. That's it for
anyway,
the E3 show. I'm just gonna play EU4 in World of Warcraft, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm feeling Far Cry, but that's it.
Yeah.
I'll probably buy that out of the box.
Yep.
Maybe I'll wait a week or two,
Yep.
but I will certainly be getting that.
Yep. Cool. All right. Take us home, Ken.
All right. You have been watching, listening, and enjoying ShowX here on twitch.tv/VTW ShowX. Thank you so much for joining us today. We very much appreciate it. You can support us by going to a variety of different places around the interwebs. And there's one easy link that's been on the screen this whole time that you can go to find us all over the interwebs. And that is linktr.ee/ShowX. Go along there and you can find our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, whatever you damn well please to support us and help us out and take part in our community. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. We really appreciate it. Thanks very much to Todd for setting up his computer in such a haste that to actually get the show running today. Very much appreciate. And also thanks to Wayne for helping him do so.
Oh yeah, we were doing real time configuration of Skype, VoiceMeter, and OBS from his phone in South Dakota. So Wayne is really the MVP of this whole thing. So thanks very much to him. Shout outs to the Forgotten Force, Netherguard Keep, EU, WoW Classic. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much for...
Shout out to Victorious Secret on Moonguard US.
Yeah.
That's my guild.
Yes.
I think we've got a 65% female to male ratio in
Wow.
there. It was originally a girl-only guild. I joined there because I was interested in meeting people and actually being an ally to these people, and it's been nice. It's been really enjoyable. They're really the kindest people I've ever met.
Very cool. Very cool. That's awesome. Thank you very much for listening to this show. We'll be back 7 days from the day, 2 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. GMT on next Sunday. And to you all, I give you /salute. Post-game show is brought to you by... Christ, I can't find